My name is Adam Weiss. A bit about myself. I guess what I'm most known for is throwing a party series in LA called Ham on Everything that I've been doing for 11 years. Um, yeah, so it's an underground party series. Yeah, if you don't know who I am, Ham on Everything is an underground party series that started off as like a warehouse party, and I still do some of the warehouse parties. But through the 11 years of doing it, the party's popularity kind of gets me a lot of other gigs, and I do a lot of things with it now.
Cool. And is that how
Yeah.
you got started in the music scene, or were you doing stuff kind of before that as well?
No, so I started Ham on Everything the year I got sober. Prior to that, I got sober in 2009. So prior to that, I would go to shows. So I guess what happened is, okay, so I used to rap, and but I was using, drugs and drinking. But every year I'd be like, this is the year that I'm like gonna really focus on rapping and do this thing, da da da. And I never would do it. And then right before, so my story is that I was in and out of jail. So the year I got sober, I went to jail 5 times, got arrested 5 times. And the fifth time, at that point, that year actually, I was living in Echo Park. I was going to a lot of, I wasn't, because Ham on Everything started as like a rap event. And, but at that point, I wasn't really going to rap shows anymore. I was going to like Echo Park 2008 hipster noise shows and synth punk shows and stuff like that. But I really wanted to be involved in a scene, and so I would like volunteer at venues. I'd pass out flyers for parties that I was into. For a while, I was like making these like vegan chickpea wraps, and I'd bring a little cooler and I'd sell it in front of the show afterwards. And I didn't like need to make money selling chickpea wraps. I just wanted to be like inundated as part of the scene, and so I always had a desire to be part of like a scene, a music scene. So the
Right.
desire was there, but I wasn't able to execute it until I got sober.
Yeah, that makes a
Yeah,
lot of sense.
yeah.
So obviously you've mentioned getting sober, and I'm curious, obviously with us being into overdose, how has like overdose, like in general, affected your life? Whether maybe you personally, the people around you, obviously getting sober. I know we can be surrounded by
Right.
a lot of.
I've had more overdose in my life as a sober person than I had when I was using. You try to use as much as you did when you were out there, and fucking die from it. So I've had more overdoses in my life in recovery than I did when I was using.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, addiction is doing push-ups.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, Obviously, I know that you kind of champion self-care, and just have a very positive persona. Um, what are some ways that you practice self-care in your life that kind of benefit you day in, day out?
Yeah, well, I'll say the most important thing is that, the most important is that, I'm thinking about how to word it. Um, when drugs and alcohol aren't the problem, they're the solution to the problem. And so when you stop using drugs and alcohol, you're left with the problem, which is fucking you. And and so at first, being sober or abstinent from drugs and alcohol, I was finding other ways in my life to create chaos so that I didn't have to deal with the self-hate that really triggered all my using. And so I would find other ways to act out in like in relationship or with sex or with food or with binge watching, anything to like not sit with my feelings. And it all came to a head 5 years ago. And at that point, I'd been 7 years sober, but honestly abstinent because at that point I was like pretty dry. For those of you that don't know, dry is when you're abstinent from drugs and alcohol, but you're not working a program of recovery. And so at that point, I was pretty dry. And I was definitely using relationships and sex to act out. And so I got in a relationship that ended the same way they always do. I was reliving a pattern of trauma, and the depression was just so fucking bad. It was like withdrawing from drugs. The depression was so bad afterwards, and then that negative self-talk tape that I've been hearing since probably fucking middle school that says I'm not good enough, I'm unlovable, not enough, I'm unlovable, over and over again. That tape would get so fucking loud at night, and I would remember this is why I used was to like quiet the voice, and I honestly felt suicidal. Trigger warning. I felt suicidal because I was like, how else can I'm not gonna, I know I'm not gonna use. How else can I shut this voice off? And so I was in a dangerous place, and then I started going to another 12-step program that really focuses on like self-love and self-dates. And I heard the message of self-dates, and I knew that I was just had so much self-hate, and that the negative self-talk tape was so loud that I was willing to try anything. And so I started trying self-dates, and it really fucking changed my life. And it was like, because prior to this, I was so codependent that I couldn't imagine like going to a movie by myself, eating lunch by myself. I used to buy if I want. There's like a concert I wanted to go to, I'd buy 2 tickets. And if I couldn't find someone else to go with, I'm not gonna fucking go. I just like wasn't doing anything to validate myself for being worthy of having experiences. And so it started off with I started doing 5 years ago a self-date Sunday, where every Sunday I would take the train from downtown to Hollywood, and I would go see a movie at the ArcLight, then I'd go eat by myself, then go eat lunch at the Veggie Grill, then look at records at Amoeba. And I did that every Sunday for like 6 months. And I finally got comfortable enough to like do things for myself. And now it's like, or like I have other interests, like I like jazz, and I like to see jazz live, but I like to be front row because I like to see like the piano player's fingers. Because I don't know if you guys ever seen jazz live. It's crazy the way they play. It's like fucking nut, blows my mind. So to get there to be in the front to see that, you got to go early. Because at first when I started doing things alone, I'd like wait until like right when it started, so I wouldn't have to stand around and be uncomfortable. But now I go early because I want to have that spot in the front because I want to maximize my experience. And so it's this whole thing of like leaning into discomfort when I know on the other side it's gonna enhance my experience. And so leaning into discomfort is like my biggest act of self-love. And that self-date thing I did in the beginning 5 years ago is like the groundwork for my self-love practice now. So yeah, it's all about what I want to watch. I want to go on a hike and see see a beautiful sunset and maybe bring a sandwich, have a picnic. I could do that for myself. I don't need. I used to think I needed someone else there to validate the experience as being worthy. And when I do that, I'm sending a message to my brain that I'm not worthy of this experience. Someone else has to validate it for me. And I think something we say in recovery is you can't think your way into right action, but you could act your way into right thinking. And from just doing these acts of self-love and these acts of self-esteem, really, eventually you trick your fucking brain, and now I love myself. So there's a long answer for you.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah.
And it kind of brings me to my next question. Thinking about like the gratitude group I know you're a part of, and the kind of the saying is that for anyone struggling with addiction, kind of the opposite of that is connection. Why do you think it's important for people to build a community around LA, like with this gratitude group, for example?
Well, I love that. I mean, I've heard it that way, but the way I say it, and I say it in all the gratitude group emails, is how I end it. I say the opposite of depression is connection. And that's been proven. And I think that especially with addiction, is that what our addict brain wants, what the addiction wants us to do is to isolate. And it's like, it's like if the addiction, it's stronger when we're isolated. And so I just think, and depression does the same thing. It wants to isolate. It lies to us in our own voice and tries to get us to isolate. I mean, I see it even working like in meetings. Sometimes I won't want to share. I'm afraid I'm not going to sound smart enough, recovered enough, funny enough. And that's just, again, my addiction or my ego trying to isolate me so I don't have community. So I think the way you fight it is with community. And that's why it's so important to, and even now I work at a rehab as a case manager, and I could see how bad these people that are newly sober, all they really want is connection and community. And it's like, that's why we say stuff in 12-step, like, call 3 other addicts a week, raise your hand and share, because it's all about building connection. I don't know if I answered your question.
No, you definitely did. Yeah. And I think my next question was, if how would you envision kind of like a healthier, more connected community? I don't know if that's,
I don't know. How would I envision a more healthier, connected community?
I guess maybe that kind of like the gratitude group you do, I suppose, is
Yeah,
a
I mean,
part of
that
that.
was part of the importance of the gratitude group is that, like, I already know from throwing parties that, like, I know how to build community. And I've done this Ham on Everything party for 11 years, and I see people that are friends from 11 years ago because they met at the party. And so, like, I already know that people want the community, but in my mind, I was thinking there has to be healthier ways than just, like, at a party. Which parties are fine, but I think that we also need this deeper connection. And the gratitude group is great because, I mean, I get you to, we like gratitude journaling, but the most important thing is we share afterwards. And basically, it's taking kind of what we do in 12 step and bringing it to like normies.
Right.
Because not everyone in the gratitude group is an addict or recovering addict. It's just people that are interested in self care. And yeah, I think it's just such a better way to connect. It's more vulnerable.
When did the gratitude group start? And can you tell us just a bit about it and
Yeah.
your kind of your vision behind it?
Yeah. Well, it's really interesting how it started is, well, I use my social media. Do you follow me on Instagram?
Yeah.
So as I'm sure you noticed, I use my stories to really promote self-care. And it actually started as a joke where like 5 years ago when I got into the self-care journey, it was like during the era of like vlogs. And so I would like do these Instagram stories as a joke where it's like I'm vlogging. 'Cause there's someone else in our scene. I'm not going to say names. Someone else in our scene who's my age, who is also in the same like underground SoundCloud rap scene that Ham and Everything shares space with, and his vlogs would be a lot of like partying and drugs and strippers, and so I was like doing the juxtaposition of it where I was like, well, today I'm taking a walk through a garden, but people really responded, and I started getting a lot of encouraging messages that it was helping people, and people that are like, most everyone that follows me is at least 10 years younger than me. And so I started feeling like, oh, I'm going to really track this journey. And so I really use my social media as a tool to show my self-care journey to hope that it inspires other people. In doing so, I focus a lot on my morning routine, which is the most important thing to me. And you know what? I'm going into all these different directions, but I also want to mention the morning routine and how important that is to my self-care. Is that I feel I've heard this analogy before where it's like, the surface of the ocean, the waves are restless, they're fucking pounding against the rocks. But if you go deep down into the center to the ocean, everything moves slower, it's still. So when I wake up like those restless fucking waves. Like I wake up in chaos, so I need to move slow and to bring that stillness into me. So my morning routine is very slow and is just inviting pause into my day. And somebody who owned this, they do events called, I should plug them, called Feels Like Floating. Have you heard of them?
Yes. Yep.
They're amazing. They do these like outdoor ambient music concerts in gardens and canyons and beautiful outdoor spaces. Follow them on Instagram. Feels Like Floating. So the guy that started that used to have a space that he was doing like an outdoor nature studio, and he said, "Why don't you come do your morning routine here and invite people into it?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I don't know, like a journaling group maybe." So really, it was his idea. So you should be credited for it. And so I did the first one in September of 2020 during the pandemic, and a few people came, like a good amount of people came, and on that one I just passed out journaling prompts and we talked about it. It was really cool. But then after that, there was like a spike in COVID-19 cases, and so I started doing it on Zoom. And the Zoom one ended up dwindling down to like 5 of us meeting every Sunday. Mm-hmm. And then last May was Mental Health Month. And the brand Chinatown Market, who are now just called Market, they reached out to me and they asked me if I was still doing community group, which End Overdose was a part of as well. For those of you that don't know, community group was me and some other party promoters doing an event series where we would just talk about our experience with therapy, and then we would have An Overdose come do a Narcan how would you say it? A Narcan.
Like a Narcan training?
Training, yes.
Yeah.
And so they asked me if I'm still doing that, and I said, no, not really. And they go, oh, because we want to like donate to something for mental health month. And I said, well, I've been doing this journaling group on Zoom that I did once in person. I keep telling myself I'm going to bring it back. And so they said, well, we'll give you some money to pay for like the coffee and donuts. And so it started the first Sunday of June. So June of 2021. And that first one was really good because like I throw parties, so I already have a following that come to events I throw. Plus I was already making like mental health self-care content on my Instagram. And so good like 30 people came. And I also made a TikTok of it. And I was pretty new to TikTok at the time, but the TikTok algorithm loves me. And I put it on TikTok and it blew up. And the very next meeting we did 2 weeks later had 100 people. And it's just been like that ever since last June.
That's amazing. And how does it feel to see it grow into kind of this?
What's amazing, especially now that I've been doing it for like a little over 6 months, is I'm seeing a lot of the same faces. And it really feels like a community. And it's funny because like it's something I did on Zoom with 5 people and I was like prepared to do it with just 5 people. And I just like, and the fact that like it blew up on TikTok and there's all these people that are just hungry for self-care and for connection, like I didn't realize how big the need really was. And so we do it every other Sunday. It's at Elysian Park. We start off with a sound bath meditation, which is one of my regular sound bath. I have a few different people that do it, but one of my regulars, her name's Crystal. She calls it a relaxation concert, which is really what it is. And we do a sound bath meditation, and then we pass out journaling prompts, and then we journal, and then we share. Whoever wants to share can share about it. And but we've done other things. We went to the Gentle Barn all together and pet barn animals and hugged cows. We've gone on hikes together and have picnics. So it really is a little community. So if anyone watching wants to join, just email your name to slowmorningsforfasttimes@gmail.com. That's what I call it, slow mornings for fast times.
Amazing.
Because I wanted to bring in the slowness of the morning routine.
Right. That's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah.
And do you have any ideas for a further evolution of it? I know it seems to keep expanding, or would you like to just maintain this focus on the sound baths, the sharing, the gratitude?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to focus on that, but I definitely want to focus on the off weekends, doing more hikes, maybe going to art galleries. because I want to create situations to where people could connect in ways other than just our regular Sunday group. So I think, and I'm slacking on it, and I really want to do it more this year. I want to get us to do more like little field trips together. I did like a holiday party thing where we played Jenga, but so do you know We're Not Really Strangers?
No.
You know We're Not Really Strangers. It's like these cards that like have these questions, and you're supposed to play it with somebody to like to broaden your connection. They're very like deep questions, but there's different packs. There's like a self-love pack and a healing pack. So I have all of them. And so we did Jenga, where it was like the big outdoor Jenga, but I put colored tape, 5 different colored tapes on each thing, and then the decks have 5 different colored things, and we had groups. And so your group, you pick someone from your group to pull the Jenga. Whatever color tape you pull on the Jenga cube is the deck that you answer, and they all answered it. And that was really fun. So I want to do more things like that like bring us together more.
Right.
I just want to keep building the community and like being, I tweeted the other day, it's so weird because like I grew up, obviously I'm an addict. I think a lot of us that are addicts use because we didn't know how else to connect with people. I mean, it's all because we want connection, right? So I use because that's how I finally fit in. And so for someone that felt like an alien all his life that didn't fit in, it's pretty crazy that now like everything, I just keep creating these things that bring people together. Firsthand on everything, and now the gratitude group. It's crazy. Who would have thought that someone that, I really just didn't feel like I fit in, and now I'm just so good at creating community.
Yeah.
A 15 or 16-year-old me would have never guessed it.
Party talking black, money, yeah, money, yeah,
Absolutely. And kind of why do you support, obviously End Overdose has kind of turned into this sprawling community. Why do you support End Overdose?
Well, it's really interesting because I had a complicated relationship with harm reduction where I didn't really get it at first. And like, I'm just like so fucking 12-step orientated that I'm like, nope, you need 12-step. Nope, you need 12-step. But I'll tell you, working in this rehab and really seeing the opiate crisis, and like, cause we have clients that leave and that have overdosed and died and got brought back because of Narcan. And now I realize, oh shit, harm reduction is important. Having them find like long-term Suboxone maintenance, it's fucking important. And I used to really be negative towards it. I'd be like, oh, you're still being dependent. It's like how I thought in the privacy of my mind. But now I see like, no, we need to keep people alive by any means necessary. And if that means long-term Suboxone maintenance, then so fucking be it. And so I think that End Overdose really promoting harm reduction is great. I mean, it's what our government needs to be promoting more of.
Yeah, absolutely. And what message would you send not only to like the addict who's maybe still struggling, but even just like the everyday user who might not identify as that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you're, if you're using and your life is, here's the thing, is I'll pull up a poem that I really relate to. Hold on. So yeah, if you're an addict or you're a user and your life is full of chaos and you don't have any inner harmony, you don't have any serenity. I mean, because that's the thing is that like, that's why the self-care and work in a program, everything is so important to me because I don't want fucking chaos anymore. I want serenity. I want inner harmony. Those are values that are so important to me. And if you're using, has your life feeling unimaginable or has it feeling fucking chaotic and you're not having any inner harmony and you don't get to have, moments of heightened, harmony or serenity. I keep using those words because those are the most important to me. But I think of this poem by Rumi where he says, inside this new love die, your way begins on the other side, become the sky. Take an axe to the prison wall, escape. Walk out like someone suddenly born in a color. Do it now, you're covered with thick cloud. Slide out the side, die and be quiet. Quietness is the surest sign that you've died. Your old life was a frantic running from silence. And I think that a lot of us, when we use, it's because we're frantically running from silence because we don't want to be with ourselves because, we have trauma or PTSD or just don't fucking like ourselves. And so it's easier to create the restlessness and the noise so we don't have to, have any stillness and have any pause. But we only live life once, and the best way to live it is to be present in it, and to be present in it doesn't mean just be present in the good times. It means be present for all of it.
Absolutely.
So, I just think it's a great way to live life.
Yeah. Yeah, I really appreciate that perspective. Is there anything else you want to add or talk about?
I guess I could just share a couple more tips that have really helped me. A big thing is that I guess I give this little tool, is I have this tool that I use where I try to do these 4 dates a month. And so one of these dates each week. And the 4 dates are, I do a self-care date, or just a self date. And for me, a self date doesn't mean just going somewhere alone. A self date means really getting ready for myself the way that you would get ready on a date, iron my fucking jeans, really get ready for myself. Then while I'm on the date, I don't let the the inner voice talk in any critical way. I only let it talk to me in kindness, the way I talk to somebody on a date. So that's date number 1. I do that once a month at least. And then date number 2 is a self-pampering date. That could be something as easy as taking a fucking bubble bath, And then I do people don't like this word, but like a God date or a higher power date, where I just do something that connects me to God or the universe or whatever you want to call it. For me, it's usually means like being in nature, going on a little hike and having time to reflect and kind of have like a heightened spiritual awareness. And then the fourth date is a friend date because once you do get comfortable in solitude and get comfortable with yourself, it's really easy to turn that into isolation. And like we talked about, isolation is the enemy. And so I make sure to go on a friend date, even if that just means getting coffee with a buddy and catching up. So there's a tool, might help.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and that's an interesting point. Like the kind of like fine line between like self-care and isolation. I think a lot of people can get lost in that.
Well, it's hard because once, especially if you live most of your life not being comfortable being alone, and then finally you like enjoy it and you enjoy your own company, you're like, don't want to let other people's energy fuck it up, kind of. But I mean, we don't grow in a container. Like we could do only so much like self-care work before you need to do it in relationship to other people. It's like the goldfish. The goldfish only grows so much in a fishbowl, but in a large pond, the goldfish grows much larger. So we don't grow in a container. We need to be in relationship to other people to grow.
Yeah, absolutely.